There is a war being fought inside of you. A silent, grinding battle you wage every single day against the chaos of the world. And you believe the cost of victory is constant vigilance. You believe that through sheer force of will, through meticulous control and relentless worry, you can bend reality to your liking. This is the subtle poison that has weakened your spirit. It is the core delusion of the modern mind, the belief that the desperate chase for a specific outcome will bring you peace. But it is this very chase, this white-knuckled grip on the future, that guarantees your defeat. You are exhausting yourself in a battle that cannot be won with the weapons you are using. Miyamoto Musashi, a man undefeated in over 60 duels, did not achieve victory through tension and anxiety. His triumphs were not born from a mind cluttered with desperate plans, but from a state of profound clarity. He moved through a battlefield as a force of nature because he understood a fundamental truth that you have forgotten. Your most dangerous opponent is not the challenge in front of you, but the turmoil within you. This constant, nagging need to manage every detail, to predict every possibility, is not a sign of strength or responsibility. It is a strategic flaw. It is a fatal opening in your guard that leaves you vulnerable, predictable, and slow. You are fighting a war on two fronts, against the world and against yourself, and the internal battle is bleeding you dry, leaving you too weak to face the external one. Musashi taught that in strategy, as in life, your spirit must be determined, yet calm. But your spirit is not calm. It is a storm of what-ifs and shoulds, a frantic attempt to build a fortress against uncertainty. This is why you feel perpetually stuck, why your best efforts seem to curdle into frustration. Your power is being spent not on action, but on the fiction of control. So I will ask you to reflect, to be brutally honest with yourself for a moment. Where in your life are you gripping the hilt of your sword so tightly that you can no longer strike with it? Is it in your career, where you obsess over every outcome? In your relationships, where you try to force a certain feeling? Or is it in the quiet of your own mind, where you refuse to surrender to the simple reality of the present moment? You believe this tight grip is a sign of your effort, a testament to how much you care. But it is the very source of your failure. It is a fundamental law of the mind that you are violating, a law that ensures the harder you squeeze, the more you lose. You are trying to win by force, but true victory is found through release. There is a law that governs your inner world, a principle so fundamental that to ignore it is to condemn yourself to perpetual struggle. This is the law of reversed effort. It dictates that the more you consciously force an internal state, the more it will elude you. The more you desperately chase sleep, the more the quiet of the night mocks your wide-open eyes. The more you demand happiness from a moment, the more you feel the hollow ache of its absence. And the more you try to force control over your life, the more you will feel it spiraling into chaos. This is the futility of a forced blade. Think of a swordsman, his mind obsessed with landing the perfect, decisive cut. His muscles are tense, his breathing is shallow, his spirit is loud and coarse. In his desperation to strike true, his movements become rigid and predictable. His opponent can read his intent as clearly as if it were written in the sky. Now, picture the master. His blade moves from a place of quiet resolve. The cut is not forced, it is allowed to happen. It is a natural extension of a calm and centered mind, a final, inevitable conclusion to a dance he is not trying to lead. The master's victory comes not from a desperate lunge, but from a state of profound surrender to the moment. In the Book of Five Rings, Musashi makes this distinction with brutal clarity. He writes that fixedness in the hands is a dead hand, while pliability is a living hand. Your obsession with control, your desperate need for a specific outcome, has created a fixed, dead mind. It is a mind that cannot adapt, cannot flow, cannot respond to the ever-changing reality of the battlefield. A dead mind can only be broken against the world. It cannot learn, it cannot win. It can only be shattered. And here is the quiet tragedy of your struggle. You are not failing because you lack effort. You are not weak because you lack the will to fight. You are failing because your immense effort is tragically misplaced. You are trying to wrestle with the current of a powerful river, using all of your strength to fight its flow, to bend its path to your will. The master strategist does not fight the river. He learns its currents, he respects its power, and he navigates it to his destination. Your struggle is not with the river of life itself, but with the fragile paper map you are holding, a map you have mistaken for the territory. This map, This rigid plan you cling to has become your tyrant. That map you cling to so tightly is the source of your deepest anxiety. You have meticulously drawn a blueprint for how your life should unfold, charting out every step, every milestone, every desired outcome. You treat this plan not as a guide, but as a sacred text, and the gap between this fragile paper reality and the chaotic, fluid truth of the world is a canyon of perpetual fear. The battlefield of life does not respect your map. The wind and the rain do not care for the lines you have drawn. And so, you live in a constant state of resistance, your spirit worn down by the friction between your rigid expectations and the world as it truly is. Miyamoto Musashi was a Ronin, a masterless samurai. His very existence was the embodiment of uncertainty, a life lived without a preordained path. In his most famous duel, against the celebrated Sasaki Kojiro, he did not arrive with an intricate, unchangeable plan. He famously arrived late, a deliberate tactic to unbalance his impatient opponent. On his way to the island of the duel, he did not polish a famous blade. He saw a broken oar in the boat and carved a wooden sword from it, one slightly longer than his enemy's renowned weapon. He did not force the world to fit his tools. He created his tools from the world as he found it. Musashi understood that a rigid plan is a cage for the mind. The warrior who enters the duel locked in a cage has already lost. Your plans, your routines, your expectations. These are the walls of a fortress you have built to protect yourself from the unknown. You believe it keeps you safe, but you have mistaken safety for imprisonment. Life is not a fortress to be defended. It is a flowing river to be navigated. And in your terror of the current, you have locked yourself away on a barren shore. You are dying of thirst while staring at the very thing that would give you life, because you are too afraid to get your feet wet. This fortress offers the illusion of control, but it is a cold, sterile, and lonely place, and it is costing you everything. You must now face a question that requires absolute honesty, a question that will test the foundations of your fortress. Look at the walls you have built around yourself, the routines and expectations that dictate your every move. Is your plan a tool for guidance, or is it a prison built from your deepest fear of the unknown? To dismantle this prison feels like an act of madness. To let go of the plan feels like surrendering to chaos. But there is another way. It is not the way of the fortress, but the way of the river. It is the strategy of water. The antidote to the brittle rigidity of your plan, the way out of the fortress, is the way of water. In the Water Book, Miyamoto Musashi lays the foundation for his entire strategy. With water as the basis, the spirit becomes like water. Consider its nature. Water does not fight the rock in a direct contest of strength. It yields. It flows around it, over it, or through the smallest crack, always finding the path of least resistance. Yet, over years, it is the soft, yielding water that wears the unbending rock to sand. Musashi understood that water adopts the shape of its receptacle. It is sometimes a trickle and sometimes a wild sea. Your spirit, too, must learn this fluid power. In the warrior's lexicon, to let go is not an act of passivity. It is not surrender in the face of an enemy. It is a conscious, tactical decision to abandon a failing tactic, your brute force, your rigid plan, in favor of a superior one, fluid adaptation. It means acting with a clear and powerful intention, but remaining completely unattached to a single, fixed method for achieving your goal. It is the understanding that the destination is essential, but the path must be allowed to reveal itself. To cling to one path when the terrain has changed is not discipline, it is blindness. When you encounter an obstacle, an unexpected problem, a sudden change, a closed door, your instinct is to push harder, to apply more force, more worry, more desperate control. This is the way of the brute. The strategist's way is different. He pauses. He observes. He adapts. He finds a new path where the brute sees only a wall. This requires you to release your ego's childish attachment to being right about how things were supposed to go. The battlefield does not care about your feelings. Reality does not owe you your expected outcome. Victory belongs to the one who can abandon their pride to embrace what works. You have believed that power is the ability to force the world to fit your mold. This is a fragile, exhausting power, the power of the rock that will one day be broken. True power, the power of a master like Musashi, is in becoming so fluid, so adaptable, so much like water, that no situation can break you. No failure can define you. No obstacle can permanently stop you. You simply flow around it and continue on your way, your intention unchanged, your spirit unbroken. This practice of fluidity is not just a tactic. It is a path. A path that leads to a state of mind so clear, so powerful, that it transcends strategy itself. It leads to the unburdened mind. It leads to the void. The ultimate goal of the warrior, the highest peak of this mountain you are climbing, is to attain the spirit of the void. Musashi called this state ku. In his final work, he described it as the place where there is nothing. This is not the emptiness of despair or the abyss of nihilism. It is a mind that has become a perfectly polished mirror, free from the dust and clutter of fear, desire, and your desperate need to control. It is a state of supreme potential, where, as Musashi wrote, "In the void is virtue, and no evil." Musashi warned that people often mistake their own confusion for the void, thinking that what they do not understand must be nothingness. The true void is the opposite. It is the state that exists only when the clouds of bewilderment clear away. When the mind is in the void, it is no longer bewildered. It does not project anxieties onto the future or cling to grievances from the past. It simply perceives what is, without resistance, without the filter of your ego. From this state of absolute presence, perfect action arises. Not forced, not planned, but flowing naturally and inevitably from the clarity of the moment. This is the secret. This is why, when you finally release your obsessive grip, things seem to flow to you and begin to work. It is not magic. It is a simple, mechanical truth. Your actions, now free from the distortions of your fear and the noise of your anxiety, are finally aligned with reality. You are no longer fighting yourself at every turn. The immense energy you once wasted on internal conflict, on worry, on planning for every phantom disaster, is now free to engage with the world directly and effectively. You have stopped being your own worst opponent. In this state, the dynamic of your life changes. You no longer need to chase opportunities, to force connections, to demand outcomes. Your clarity and your presence become a gravitational force. The desperate, grasping energy of your former self pushed away the very things you sought. Now, your calm, unburdened spirit attracts the circumstances, the people, and the solutions that a cluttered mind would have been too blind and too agitated to ever see. But this state is not a gift. It is a conquest. It is not a philosophy to be admired from a distance, but a discipline to be forged in the fire of your daily life. The battle for the void is not fought on a distant island, but here now, in the duel against your own mind. This conquest of the self, this path to the void, is not won in a single glorious battle. It is won in the quiet moments of each new day. This is not a philosophy to be merely understood. It is a discipline to be practiced, a commitment to be honored. Musashi's wisdom is clear: the way is in training. The battle against your own mind, your impatience, your fear, your compulsive need for control, is fought every morning when you wake. This is your training ground. This is the way. And this is how the duel is fought. The warrior's discipline begins at dawn. As your day begins, you must identify your opponent. It is that one thing you are trying to force into existence through tension and will. A specific outcome in your work. A desired response from another person. A rigid emotion you are commanding yourself to feel. Name it. See it clearly. This is the focus of your duel for the day. Next comes the act of surrender, which is not weakness, but the highest strategy. You will close your eyes. You will visualize that outcome you desperately crave. And then, with a conscious act of will, you will release it. Let it drift away. Your duty is not to the outcome, which is beyond your command, but to the impeccable excellence of your action. Finally, you will engage with the world, but with the spirit of an unclenched hand. Perform your duties with precision, with focus, with your full presence, but release the tension of needing a specific result. Your victory for the day is not measured in external rewards, but in the internal quality of your action alone. This is the only path to inner freedom. This is how you achieve a victory over yourself. When you stop demanding, you start receiving. When you stop fighting the river, you begin to move with its power. When you stop forcing victory, you find that it was waiting for you all along. The greatest conquest is not over any opponent you can see, but over the tyranny of your own mind. For as Musashi knew, today's victory is the victory over yourself of yesterday. It is the final, quiet triumph over your own desperate need to control that which was never yours to command in the first place. The path has been shown. The training is now yours to begin. If this way resonates with the warrior in you, subscribe to this channel. Leave your mark in the comments below. And give a like to signal your commitment to the duel.